Welcome to 2024, which means it's time to look back to last year at 2023 and my top 5 movies of the year. So, I do have some right behind me, but we're going to take a look at some of my favorites and some dishonorable mentions. So, that being said, if you have any recommendations or suggestions, make sure to put them down below. Put your top 5 or top 10 down in the comments below. See if there are any that I missed, which there are some, and I will address here in just a bit. But go ahead, like and subscribe for more content like this. If you've got any more content you'd like to see in the near future, also put those in the comments below as well. But with that out of the way, I do want to put a disclaimer. There are some movies that I have not seen, like Oppenheimer and Barbie and Flowers of the Killer Moon. There's some movies that I never really got to watch last year that won't be on this list, so that's a fair warning right there for you. But these are just the movies that I myself got to see. So, that being said, before we take a look at our top 5, we're going to take a look at some dishonorable mentions. First dishonorable mention has to be Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. That was one I was actually really looking forward to, honestly, going in. And it failed to live up to expectations and was a little bloated and a little too over the top. And didn't really flesh out like what the quantum verse is. And I will say Jonathan Majors was really good as Kang in the movie, but I think it was just a little overambitious for the movie it set out to be, and ultimately fell flat. And it also had a villain that was really cooked and really cringy to watch, and had some really dumb humor. So yeah, it was really disappointing to me. So, not as much as Thor: Love and Thunder, but still very disappointing. Another disappointment, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. It's Indy 5! How do you mess that up? Well, like this. It's not a horrible movie, but it really doesn't do service to Indiana Jones as a character. And while I think that Miss Bridges' performance isn't bad, it's just a character that you really can't root for, and that's the whole movie. There really isn't anybody that you're rooting for, not even Indy. He's just kind of a grump the whole movie. The only thing that really kind of brings it up a little bit is like the first 10-15 minutes when it feels like a classic Indy movie, which was fun, but the rest, no, unfortunately not. That kind of bums me out. My last dishonorable mention has to be The Flash. In a year we had 4 DC movies come out, and this one being held in development hell for so much, I honestly was really looking forward despite the drama behind it. And ultimately, while this isn't a bad movie, it is a really disappointing one. Some of the comedy is a little over the top as well. Some of it's bloated. Michael Keaton was great to see as Batman again. There are some great cameos and nods to the whole history of DC, which was great to see. It's not a bad movie. It's just one that didn't really live up to the hyper expectations that Warner Brothers wanted to have. Okay, now that we got my dishonorable mentions out of the way, let's take a look at my top 5, starting with, well, number 5. Number 5, Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation Part 1. This one was really hard because it was down to 2 movies, and that was Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 and John Wick Chapter 4, both in which were great action movies within the year. And while this one is technically the better out of the 2, and has a great conclusion to the series, I went with Dead Reckoning Part 1 just because I have so much history with the characters and have really loved seeing this franchise grow into what it is now, and have been waiting for this movie, to be honest, and by the end of it, it made me want to roll straight into the sequel. This, within itself, is a wonderfully well-executed action movie with great characters and a great world that it has been set up for so long. I can't fault this with at all, but I can't lie. I was anticipating this movie the whole year, and it didn't really let me down. It wasn't as good as Fallout, but it was still a great theater experience, a great movie overall, and once again, sets up for a sequel that I really want to roll into, as well as another movie that we'll get into later. So, Dead Reckoning Part 1 is my number 5 of the year. 4. My number 4 has to be Tetris. Did you forget we had a Tetris movie? Because I kind of did until I went back and looked at all the movies I watched and remembered, oh yeah, Tetris. Tetris is a movie that I wasn't really sure what I'd think going into it, but after watching it, was actually one I have watched multiple times on Apple TV, and it's a great story with great acting. The story has a lot of really intriguing geopolitics and video game history that's really fascinating to watch, and I just had so much fun with the movie, and is just a really interesting, almost like an espionage movie, and it was really great, and one that I really hope gets a home release, because I would love to put that on my shelf with all the others and pop it in and watch it anytime or share with friends. So Tetris is my number 4. 3. Number 3 is The Holdovers. I honestly didn't know anything about this movie going into it, and after watching it, it was a great movie that I didn't even know I really wanted. Paul Giamatti does a great job in the acting, and the theme of finding a family within the people around you is wonderful, and is one that I think once it comes out, I'll probably end up putting in my Christmas rotation, especially considering it takes place around Christmas, and it really has that cozy vibe that a lot of Christmas movies seem to have. It's well acted, well directed. It does get emotional towards the ending. It has characters you love and relate to. It's a great movie that, once again, I didn't know I wanted, and after watching it, I'm so glad we got it. So The Holdovers is my number 3. 2. My number 2 has to be Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which, honestly, I loved more than Into the Spider-Verse, and is the other movie that once it ended, I could not wait to roll into the next movie, even though it wasn't even here yet. It has a wonderful, heartbreaking story, and ends up on a cliffhanger that wants you wanting more, and introduces you to even more of the Spider-Man mythos and characters within the Spider-Verse, and it just also has this theme of growing up and taking responsibility and being your own person that's really great, and once again is beautifully animated. Before I get to my number 1, I do want to talk about some honorable mentions, because there's a lot of movies that came out this year that just I wanted to put on my list, but I want to list it to a top 5, otherwise I'll be rambling too much. So we're going to go ahead and quick fire through some of my honorable mentions. So I want to shout out Anatomy of a Fall, Color Purple, Wonka, which I would love to get whenever it comes out, and some of the ones that I picked up this year, one which we talked about, which is John Wick Chapter 4, don't sleep on it, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which is a great conclusion to the trilogy that James Gunn has set up, and believe it or not, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. But then again, I'm a huge Turtle fan, and this is a great reintroduction to the Turtles for a new generation, and does it well with a great art style. And I totally forgot it even came out this year. 1. Okay, it's the moment you guys have been waiting for. What is my number 1 movie of the year? The one that it just blew me away, that I could not forget. And honestly, it's one I saw in late December. That's right, one I saw just a few weeks ago before making this video. And that has to be The Iron Claw. So I wasn't even thinking about this being on my list until I saw trailers for it, until I heard more about it. I got interested, and after watching it, it blew me away. The story is heartbreaking, fascinating. The acting in it is top-notch, especially from Zac Efron. Yeah, the High School Musical guy that everybody makes fun of. He is great, and this movie proves that. He puts in the work 110%, both in his acting and just physically. He bulked up for this role and really committed, and it shows and it pays off. And it just, as a brother of 4, like the characters in this movie, a family of 4 brothers, I related to this a lot, especially with the conditions of how their dad treat them. It really connected to me on a personal level, and it was a movie that, after watching it, I just could not forget, and it stuck with me, and is one that I cannot wait to watch again, despite how heartbreaking and how wrecking that this movie is. It's such a masterclass of show don't tell, and a masterclass of acting, and just it is a tight movie. It's an emotional roller coaster, and is one I don't think anybody should skip out on. So if you have not seen it, please go see it before it leaves theaters, and when it comes out on video, if you missed it, please do yourself a favor, watch it. You will not regret it. It is a phenomenal movie. So with all that being said, those are my top 5 and some honorable and dishonorable mentions of 2023. I hope you guys enjoyed. What are some that you saw that I didn't, that are not on my list, that you'd put in yours? List your top 5, top 10, what have yous in the comments below. Love to see them. If you have any content suggestions in the future, please also leave those in the comments below. If you want to see more content like this and want to stay up to date, make sure to like and subscribe. I also have a Twitch account, an Instagram account, and a Letterboxd account, even though I've done kind of a poor job at keeping up with those. Please follow on those, especially Twitch. I have my top 5 games of 2023 live streamed and talk about them on my Twitch channel, so please check that out. I thank you all so much for watching this video. I appreciate you all as always, and I cannot wait to see you all in the next video.